Today I'm beginning a series of videos about blender batter recipes where you take whole grains and make whole grain baked goods, and you don't need a grain mill. Hi sweet friends, my name is Mary and welcome to Mary's Nest. This channel is all about living the simple life by cooking from scratch, making home remedies, and creating a cozy home with thrift store finds. So if you're like me and you like living the simple life, subscribe to my channel and be sure to click on the little notification bell that'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Now today I'm making a recipe to show you how to make a blender batter that you can use to make pancakes. And when it comes to blender batter recipes, you start them the night before. So that's what I did, and I'll show you what I filmed. Well, I just finished doing up the dinner dishes, and I'm going to get ready to make my blender batter. And so I just set up my telephone to record this, and I hope that you can see okay and hear okay. So I'm getting ready to make my blender batter, and you have to do it the night before because it has to soak. And what you're going to want to start with is 1 cup of grain. Now these are spelt berries, and these are oat groats, and you use the actual whole grain. If you want, you can also use steel cut oats, or you can use the old-fashioned rolled oats. But if you do use oatmeal, or some type of oatmeal like I'm using, you want to only use a half a cup. You don't want to use the whole cup with oats, because then it can become like a little gummy, and I wouldn't recommend it. But you can basically use anything. You can use whole barley, you can use buckwheat, wheat berries, what I've got here, spelt berries, any type of whole grain. And that's what's so neat about this, because you're not using the flour, you're using the fresh whole grain. So I'm going to go ahead and all you need is a blender. And this is just a regular, this is just a Cuisinart blender. I've had it for years. You can certainly use, if you have a Vitamix or one of those high-speed type blenders, you can use that too. You're just, tomorrow when we blend it, or actually tonight when we blend it, you're going to blend it for less time, and you'll be able to tell because you'll be looking at it. I'll explain in a minute. So we're just going to go ahead and put in our spelt berries, and we're going to go ahead and put in our whole oat groats. And it couldn't be easier. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to need about a cup or a cup and a quarter maybe, but we'll start with a cup of buttermilk. Now, if you don't have buttermilk, don't worry, you don't need it. You can also use milk that you just put in a little lemon juice and then let it sit on the counter for a little bit and sour and thicken up. Or if you have a yogurt, you can just thin it to the consistency. Take some yogurt and add some milk to it to thin it, or you could add water to the consistency, that would be kind of like this, like buttermilk. So, but anything like that. Alrighty. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to pour in this buttermilk into the blender with the 1 cup of whole grains. And we're just going to put that right in like that. And that's funny. I don't know if you can hear my computer in the background. Miss Katie over at Heritage Ways, if you watch her YouTube channel, she's just come on live. So I'm going to finish this up and then go watch her live. But let me just show you. So basically, you just put in your buttermilk. That's it. You put your lid on, or yeah, we should put the lid on to get started. And we're just going to blend this. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that there's a vortex. So we may have to add additional buttermilk just to get it into a vortex. And that's going to grind the grain. The liquid is going to help grind the grain right in a regular blender. It's fantastic. So can you see the vortex? That's exactly what you're looking for. And that's that. Now, we're just going to let this sit overnight. So we're going to soak our grains. And as I've shared with you in previous videos, the reason why we want to soak the grains is to help decrease some of the amount of phytic acid that is in grains that can make them difficult to digest and difficult for us to assimilate the nutrients from the grain. But by soaking it overnight, some of that phytic acid will break down and make it more digestible and healthier for us. And that's all we need to do. So we've got a lovely batter here, and it'll just soak overnight. That was whole grains, just mixed, 1 cup of whole grains mixed with 1 cup of buttermilk. And then tomorrow, after this is soaked overnight, I'll show you what we'll do next. Now the grain and the buttermilk has soaked overnight, just left it right here on the counter, and it looks wonderful. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is, I'm just going to try to make a little bit of a well in the middle here, and I'm going to add the egg, 1 egg, and we're going to put that right in the middle. That'll help, because we're going to want to get another vortex going. And then I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of vanilla. That's it. Just about a teaspoon there. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of sweetener. Now you can also, at this point, if you want to add cinnamon or any other spices, you can do that too. But today I'll just do them plain. Now I'm also going to add in a little bit of sweetener, just maybe about 2 tablespoons of honey. You can add anything you want. You can add maple syrup. You could also add like the rapadura or the sucanat, the sugar, and that's that. Okay, well, let me run this now, and then we'll go on to the next step. Okay. Now you'll see the vortex is starting to form, and if you need to, you can add a little more buttermilk to thin things out. We just want to get it really smooth and a good vortex going. And we're going to blend this for about a minute till it's really nice and smooth. So I've added maybe about a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. So we've got a great vortex going, and we've just blended this for about 1 minute. So it's beautifully smooth batter. And we had that wonderful vortex going. It's all the grain is ground up. And now the last part, what we're going to do is into this strainer, I've got a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of baking powder. Now if you want, you can use all, it's my sea salt there. It's all, you can use 1 teaspoon of baking soda if you want, or you can do the baking soda and baking powder combination. And then also the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So now we're just going to blend this just a little bit to incorporate the dry ingredients. And that's it. We're all ready to make pancakes or waffles. Now our batter's all ready, and the next thing that you want to do is, in this case, I'm using a cast iron skillet, and I've just put some butter in there, and I'm letting it melt, and I'm going to have it on medium-high heat. And you can also use, any kind of electric skillet or electric fry pan, or just a regular fry pan on your stovetop. You just want to make sure that it's nice and hot, and that you've got some kind of melting fat in it that you like to use, butter, ghee, coconut oil, so on and so forth. At this point, you can just pour it right from the blender into your frying pan, or you can use a little soup scoop here, and that's what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this right in. Oh, listen to that wonderful sizzle. And we're ready to flip. Perfect. Now we'll just let it cook on the other side for about 30 seconds or so, and then we'll be ready to eat. And I just had it on the first side when I first poured the batter in for about a minute or two, and what I do is I get the pan nice and hot, then I turn it down to a little bit of a lower heat to let it cook a bit, and a lot of bubbles will form on top of the pancake, and that'll tell you that it's cooking nicely and it's ready to flip. Once you see a lot of bubbles in the batter on top, then you flipped it over, and now we're just going to let it go for about 30 seconds, and I think this is ready to serve up. And look at the center of that. Look at how light and fluffy it is. You'd never know that's all whole grains, and you didn't have to beat the egg white separately. The blender kind of does the trick for you and makes a nice light fluffy pancake and 100% whole grain. If you'd like to learn more about soaking grains and baking from scratch with whole grain flours, subscribe to my channel, click on this video, and I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country kitchen. Love and God bless. Delicious.